Grace and peace, everybody. Grace and peace. We got 1689 Baptists in the house. Grace and peace, brother. How you doing tonight? We're gonna get a little political tonight. We're gonna have a couple of topics, couple of discussions. We got my sis Michelle in the house. Listen, sis, I was just talking about you the other night. Me and Latoya, I was just asking about you guys. But yeah, we'll touch base later. She said she likes the melody. Appreciate you, sis, for joining in. All right, actually, let me get my banner up. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about exactly what you guys see on the title. You guys see, I got the American flag and got the American flag hat on and then the American flag shirt. So you know, some people, they're gonna be triggered by that. Sorry, but not sorry. But yeah, you know, I know a lot of people say that you don't really want to talk politics with when it comes to religion or anything like that, but I think that at times it does intersect, so that's why I'm kind of doing this live stream tonight. But as you guys come in, go ahead and hit that like button. Hit that like button as you guys come in, and we will be getting into this. I don't even know. I might open the chat up tonight, because I think that it is good to have a difference of opinion. And you know, and I think that sometimes, you know, we do have to have a talk about these particular things, because you guys know that it's voting season right now. We do have the midterms that are coming up right now for the presidential election. We also have the governor's races that are going on, especially here in Georgia. I know that is kind of like the big talk. I know a lot of people are focused on the Senate, the Senate race here in Georgia, and the governor's race here in Georgia, because I think that depending on who's elected, it is going to it'll change the state for sure. You know, and I do live in Georgia right now currently, plan on dying here anyway, but yeah, we're gonna have some conversations. We're gonna talk about what's going on. We have Q Cent in the house. Q Cent, what is going on? And like I said, as you guys come in, hit that like button. If you guys haven't done so, go ahead and subscribe as well. And actually, I'm gonna do something that I haven't done in a while. I am going to shout out my members, because Q-Sen said he just left GA. He or she. Q-Sen, if you're a male or a female, let me know in the comment section, because I don't want to be saying male and then you're a female and then vice versa. But yeah, I do want to shout out my members, because I haven't done so in a while, and then I've had quite a few members who actually joined, and I do want to give a shout out to them. So hold on one second, let me get ready to pull that stuff up. Shout these people out. Okay. Oh wow, I'm up to 21 members. The other day it was only 19. Alright, so let's see who these people are. And what's so crazy is that I forgot. Oh, here it is right here. I was about to say, man, I forgot to see the names. How to see the names. First off, we got It's Up Now. I know you guys see him in the see. Look at her. She says she's a female. So see, I was gonna call you bro. I was gonna call you bro. Reform C says we stand on the word of God. Amen, brother. We stand on the word of God. So our supporters are It's Up Now, Tracy Lewis, Pastor G, AC Lewis Sr., Terrence Jones, Roger Sherman, Jeremiah Lyrically Outspoken. We have Miss Ephesians 210, Dunamis. You know, you guys see him popping in and out of the chat. Elder Joseph Roberts, Nicole Smith, Latrell Hassel, D. Dave, Ambassador Everett. I'm Chris Duke, Anthony Hall, Daryl Lloyd, and Montree Shera. Montree Shera has been a supporter for about a year now, for about 11 months. So give it up for her. Actually, no, let's give her a Jamaican horn. Give it a horn and a clap. Also Daryl Lloyd, he's been a supporter for about 10 months, and it's crazy because I didn't even realize I had this membership thing going that long. But shout out to you guys. Thank you guys for being supporters. Everyone who supports the channel, whether you're a supporter or just a subscriber, even if you're a person who just hits the like button. So thank you guys. Well, all right, we are about to get into it. Q Cent said the whole word. We stand on the whole word of God. It is our foundation. And actually, I should have had a scripture pulled up for that. I don't even have my logos open. But yes, and I do want to put this out there as we get ready to get into the discussion. One thing that we have to do is that as believers, we must be consistent with how we believe and with our politics. So we can't just be totally to the left and totally to the right, because I've criticized both. I know some people who will almost idolize America, and I've had to rebuke people for attaching the Bible to this far right-wing ideology. Just like I've had to rebuke people on the left, for having this totally liberal ideology, and everybody can get it, especially when it comes to me. When it comes to me and my channel and my commentary, anyone can get it when you fall outside of the Word of God, right? Q Cent said, can we agree to disagree? It depends on what it is. Like this particular topic, unfortunately, I don't think that we can agree to disagree on this. But I'm not willing to call someone a heretic or to say that somebody is not a believer because of their stance on abortion. However, I will say that depending on how hard of a stance that person, how much of a hard stance that person takes on the topic of abortion, to me will determine whether or not, if that person is in fact, or can we consider that person a brother or sister in the faith, or is this a person that just wears the title Christian for social reasons. So but like I said, we have to be able to make those distinctions, and I am going to bring up a few videos, and these are a couple of them are some political candidates right here in Georgia. And I think that one of the reasons why I'm bringing this up is because I think a lot of people are familiar with these particular people, and I think that they are getting the most buzz in the headlines right now. We're going to be discussing the Herschel Walker and what is a Herschel Walker and Reverend Warnock debate. We're going to be talking about that. I was watching that about a week ago. Some points came up about abortion. We're going to cover that. Stacey Abrams said some pretty crazy things. Best word I can find right now to explain that about abortion and the inflation, the economy. And then we also, if you guys haven't seen this particular debate, shout out to Sister Brian Babes. She covered this maybe about a few days ago. There was a debate that happened between some, I would say, kind of like some liberal black people and then some conservative black people on the topic of abortion. So we're going to be covering that whole sector, that whole topic section as well. All right, Latoya Murray Johnson, that's Bay. Give it up for Bay. Bay says, right, we definitely got to realize everything else is going down except the Word of God. Amen. We got rebuke and reprove in the house. Shalom. Q Cent says, wow, this is going to be interesting. It is. I try to make all my live streams interesting. Most excellent Theophilus, grace and peace. Pastor G, what is going on? He gets a horn because he got the badge. All right. Pastor G is a member. He is a monthly supporter. So y'all give it up for Pastor G. Most excellent says, Alta got this conservative hat on, and he got the curve. And so you know what time it is. Hey, listen, man, I'm just I think I'm grifting right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm grifting a little bit. I'm just messing around. All right, man. Listen, let's go ahead and get into this. First, we're going to be discussing Mrs. Stacey Abrams. Now, if you guys don't know Stacey Abrams, she ran for... Actually, before we do that, before we get into that, made this little transition. So, well, actually, no, let me do this. See, I should have wrote all of this stuff down. But anyway, Stacey Abrams, she is a governor, well, she's running for governor. She ran for governor, 4 years ago, lost to Brian Kemp. And her and Brian Kemp is, at it again. She's rerunning for governor. And Governor Kemp is up for re-election. I think that there's a third person that's running as well. I can't remember who that is. But all eyes are on Governor Kemp and Stacey Abrams at this point. So we are about to get into this, and let's talk some politics. All right, like I said, we are going to be talking about... Let's go to Stacey Abrams real quick. Now, I want you guys to listen to this. And I kind of want to go back to what Q-Cent said. Q-Cent said, can we agree to disagree? And I want you guys to really, really pay close attention to what is the questions that are being asked and Stacey Abrams' response to this. Right? Grace Apisi says, could you possibly go into miscarriage a little bit later? I think we're going to kind of talk about that in one of these particular segments. Bae says she liked the transition. You know what I'm saying? There we go. Pastor G said, not fake news. Right, this ain't fake news. You're going to hear it from the horse's mouth. All right? But let's hear what has to be said. This is Stacey Abrams on MSNBC. Fair use. I don't know if they're going to... I don't know if MSNBC would kick me off or if they would just strike my channel for playing this, but we're going to see. Just to put it out there, fair use.
For Governor of Georgia, Stacey Abrams, it's great to have you back on the show. Curious at your biggest takeaways as to how your race is going right now, and if you'd like to chime in on President Obama's comments.
I think President Obama is absolutely right, and it's what we're seeing on the ground. Right now, we are walking away so often from the real issues that people care about. Abortion is an economic issue. It's been reduced to this idea of a culture war, but for women in Georgia, this is very much a question of whether they're going to end up in poverty in the next 5 years, because women who are forced to carry unwanted pregnancies end up in poverty within they're 4 times more likely to be impoverished in 5 years. They're twice as likely to be on food stamps. This is an...
Okay, so I want you guys to catch that. Catch what she's saying. She's saying that if you're a woman and if you have a baby, you're more likely to be in poverty because you carried a baby to term. So in 5 years, ladies, if you carry a baby to term, in 5 years, you'll be in poverty. So therefore, that's why we need abortion. Just listen to it. Fair use.
Economic issue, and it's being reduced to this culture conversation. We know that for families that have faced the issue of inflation, they care about housing prices. They care about whether they can afford to go to a doctor. That's why I'm fighting for Medicaid expansion in Georgia, and why we're having conversations about a governor who makes his money in real estate and will not spend $400 million in eviction rental assistance to keep people in their homes. And so it's important that we reduce these conversations not to these high-level professorial conversations, but to real impact on people's lives. And that's what we're seeing is working on the ground, and why we're seeing such turnout in Georgia.
So I'm curious. I was going to say in my 4 campaigns, I never had to talk about inflation, warned about it, but never had to say, hey, here's my idea on how you get grocery prices down or how you get rent prices down. But I'm not alone. This hasn't really happened in a generation. You're out there on the front lines campaigning along with everybody else, where people are looking to you saying, I can't buy a starter home like my parents did when they were in their 20s or 30s. I'm having trouble paying groceries. I'm having trouble paying my bills, let alone getting my kids into college. Gas prices are going back up. I'm so curious. What do you say to a voter who's struggling to even pay their rent now? Because my gosh, rent prices for.
I want y'all to listen, pay attention to the question that he's asking her. He's asking her about the economy and inflation. That's what he said. He's saying that, listen, the price of things have gone up. People are struggling financially right now. And you're running for governor. All right? She's running for governor. She's going to be the person that is going to be responsible for bringing more jobs to the state of Georgia. Hopefully helping people cope with the inflation. Hoping that there'll be more jobs, lower gas prices, etc., etc. He's asking her that. Now, I want you to pay attention to her response.
So many middle-class Americans just exploding.
Well, one, you say that the global inflation is a global phenomenon, but the pain is local and real. So you don't deny what people are feeling, but then you explain what a governor can do. This governor has refused to address the cost of housing. He has said that he doesn't want to upset investors by giving local governments control over helping control housing prices. I want to make sure they have the help they need. He says that it's okay because he doesn't want to upset these investors that 30% of housing units in Georgia have been purchased by out-of-state equity investors. I have a plan to solve that. He doesn't really talk about the issues that we're facing in healthcare. We're losing a level 1 trauma center. Georgia's going to be down to 4 level 1 trauma centers for an 11 million person population, 1 for the entire metro Atlanta area. And he won't do a thing to solve the problem by expanding Medicaid. So I talk about if you need access to health care, it's going to be more expensive under this governor. We've already lost 6 hospitals with his leadership or failed leadership. And so you take the big issues and you let people understand what a governor can do to address it. I'm the only candidate talking about need-based financial aid so middle-class families can send their kids to college without going deeper into debt. Those are the issues we have to talk about. And to the points you were making earlier, we have got to lean into the resources that federal Democrats have delivered to Georgia, that hardworking Georgians have delivered to themselves to create a $6 billion surplus in our state. My plan is to invest that money back into our communities, back into our families, back into our small businesses. My opponent wants to give it away as tax cuts to the wealthy.
So, Ms. Abrams, back to the root of Joe's question that he just asked you. You're running for governor of Georgia. I would assume, maybe incorrectly, but while abortion...
Yes. Now, see, he picked up on that. Because he's basically saying that you didn't answer the question. You just threw this whole big word salad out there and you didn't answer the question. So that's why I'm glad that he circled her back to that. And I think that this election cycle is going to be a little different because one thing that I can say is that some of these news stations, for whatever reason, they're really holding some of these candidates' feet to the fire. So about 4 years ago, these people was able to get on here and throw out all of these word salads, and people was able to, Stacey Abrams 2020 and all of this stuff here, and they wasn't asking these tough questions and really sticking it to these people. So I'm glad that this particular guy, I don't know his name because I don't watch MSNBC, but he's just like, okay, let's get back on code. You were asked a direct question, you didn't answer it. Let's see how she's going to answer this.
Is an issue. It nowhere reaches the level of interest of voters in terms of the cost of gas, food, bread, milk, things like that. What could you do as governor to alleviate the concerns of Georgia voters about those livability, daily, hourly issues that they're confronted with?
But let's be clear. Having children is why you're worried about your price for gas. It's why you're concerned about how much food costs. For women, this is not a reductive issue.
Did you catch that? The reason why you're worried about gas prices and inflation is because you have children. I don't think y'all caught that. I'm going to back it up. Let's back this up. Let's do it again.
Bread, milk, things like that. What could you do as governor to alleviate the concerns of Georgia voters about those livability, daily, hourly issues that they're confronted with?
But let's be clear. Having children is why you're worried about your price for gas. It's why you're concerned about how much food costs. For women, this is not a reductive issue. You can't divorce being forced to carry an unwanted pregnancy from the economic realities of having a child. And so it's important for us to have both and conversations. We don't have the luxury of reducing it or separating them out, but we also have to talk about what a governor can do. A governor can address housing prices. A governor can address the cost of education. A governor can put money into the pockets of everyday hardworking Georgians instead of giving tax cuts to the wealthy. That's what I talk about on the trail, and that's what's resonating. But let's not pretend that women, half the population, especially those of childbearing age, they understand that having a child is absolutely an economic issue. It is only politicians who see it as simply another cultural conversation. It is a real biological and economic imperative conversation that women need to have.
Ms. Abrams, this is Eddie Glaude. I want, first of all, congratulations. We're both going to be celebrating homecoming with Spelman and Morehouse this weekend, so we want to give a shout out to our alma maters. But I want to ask you this question about the home stretch. Here we are in the home stretch of this campaign, and what do you have to do to ensure that your base turns out, that independents turn towards you? So what is the message?
I think that was the end of that particular clip. I didn't watch the rest of it, but I know that what she just said has kind of like been a hot button topic, you know, and for people who did not, who don't, who didn't really catch that, or people who are just coming in. Yeah, and by the way, as you guys come in, hit that like button, get the likes up, guys. Hit the like button. But yeah, so basically, the guy on MSNBC flat out asked her. Well, she was asked twice. The first time she didn't answer, but the second guy came on and he basically just like, okay, when it comes to gas, food, inflation, rent prices, all of these things going up, and with me traveling, I see this firsthand. I see a lot of this stuff firsthand because, I have to do my expense report. So, I do see a change, a significant change from last year of me doing like my expense reports and all of that stuff, for my travel, to now, how the price of gas is going up significantly, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, he's just like, how are you as governor, how are you going to approach these issues that majority of Americans are talking about? The number one concern is inflation. Number two is the price of goods and services that are going up. That's what most people are concerned about, most voters, especially this particular election. And then he also mentioned that ain't nobody thinking about no abortion. That's the last thing on a lot of people's minds is abortion. If we're going to be clear, I think that they've done several polls on this. No voter is going to the polls worried about Roe versus Wade. That's not a big ticket item. Democrats and Republicans, because as always, we feel the pinch, especially the black community. Every time the economy takes a nosedive, the people who are affected the most is the black community. That's facts. Think back to Obama. When Obama was elected and the economy took a nosedive, it was already starting to spiral downward anyway. But when Obama when he was in office and the economy started to go down and people was hoping that he would come in and he would fix the economy, but then he had other issues that he made sure that was in place, that he fought real hard for, like legalizing marijuana. Also the LGBTQ thing, that was like huge to legalize LGBTQ marriage. Like he really really put a lot of effort into that. But when it came to the people who suffered the most under the economy, the bad economy, it was black people. I think black people had the highest unemployment rate. I mean, you know, a majority of black people lost their homes. You know, a lot of black people. I remember, I don't know if you guys remember this. I remember seeing the news just here in Atlanta where people were lined up out the door into the parking lot trying to submit their applications to grocery stores, Walmart, Kroger, Home Depot. I'm talking about thousands of people. Thousands of people were lined up just to try to get a job, and majority of those people were black. Majority of the people that lost their homes were black. That was around the time, around like 2008, that's when I started the property management industry. That's when I started to kind of get into that. And I saw a lot of people, a lot of black people flooding these apartment communities, trying to find a place to stay. There was a lot of black people who got evicted. One of the stats, I don't know how true it is, but one of the stats that I was constantly hearing thrown around was that it was more likely for a white man without a degree to get a job than it was for a black man who had multiple degrees. And in a way, from some of the people that I interacted with and some of the people that I saw that was affected by the economy, it seemed like it was true. It almost seemed like it was true, you know? So that's why when we're talking about these things, especially abortion itself is one of those things that greatly affects our community more than anyone else's. And now I think that one of the debates, I think it's the walkaway debate that I'm going to pull up in a little bit, talked about, I think, what is it? About 12. How many black people in America? What is it, about 12 million black people or something like that in America? But I think since Roe versus Wade, you've had just about as many black people that are here in the United States have been aborted since Roe versus Wade. So you've had half of the black population that has been aborted since Roe versus Wade. And then we always talk about Black Lives Matter. Oh, you know, the greatest folks. Y'all seen the Weeping Deacon on here the other night talk about police brutality, police killings, and all of that stuff. Abortion kills way more black people, and some people will argue that it is the number one killer for black Americans in this country alone. In this country alone. Thank you, Lily T. Yes, you guys hit that like button. Hit that like button. Let me see. We're going to get ready to go into this right here. So, if you guys haven't seen this, we are going to be talking about, we're actually getting ready to go into the Georgia Senate debate, Warnock versus Walker. And actually, I wanted to talk about this too, before I moved on to this. I was a guy who voted for Obama 2 times. I voted for Obama 2 times. First time, I ain't even gonna lie. First time I voted for Obama because he was a black man. I'm willing to admit that live. I voted for Obama because he was black. And I say, you know what? I wanted to see a black president. People said that it couldn't happen. Ran to the polls. Pulled that lever as hard as I could for Obama in 2008. By the time 2012 came, I didn't want to vote for Obama. I was already starting to kind of be red-pilled a little bit because like I said, working at a property management level and you're working at apartment communities, you see a lot of things. You actually see people's livelihood. You see people getting evicted. You see people moving from $200,000-$300,000 homes back then, which was like, you know, I mean, here in Georgia, $200,000-$300,000 home. I'm talking about you're looking at about like five, six bedrooms, full basement, everything. But you're looking at these people who are moving from these exquisite communities, moving to a 2-bedroom. They can't even afford a 3-bedroom apartment. They're moving to a 2-bedroom apartment. I was watching people cars 2-3 times a day. The repo man was coming in picking cars up like clockwork. And majority of these people were black. I lived on the east side of Atlanta, like the Lithonia, Stone Mountain area. It was bad. The economy hit black people bad in that area. A lot of black people who had pretty good jobs lost them. We had to evict a lot of black people because they were so behind on rent. Because they had no jobs. You know? So it was rough. And just to show y'all that I ain't lying that I voted for Obama, I still got my Obama shirt. I still got that shirt. Y'all see that? Look at that. I bought that shirt while he was running for president. So I just want to let y'all know, no cap. No cap. So that's why when people hear me having my talking points, I done been there. Look at that. He said, yep, I was there. I had the Obama shirt. I was hook, line, and sinker. I know a lot of people say, why you still got it? I don't know. Maybe I can use it as a testimony. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm doing right now. Oh, yeah. And shout out to Elder Joe. Oh, sorry. Wrong thing. I was trying to hit this. Thank you, Elder Joe. Thank you, Elder Joe, for being a member, a monthly member. I'm gonna give him another horn because I messed around and hit the laugh button by mistake. Elder Joe says, "Blessed my brother Alex and grace and peace to everyone in the chat." Yes. And you guys continue to hit that like button. He says, "Not you too." Yes, I was there. I was blue pilled. Hook, line, and sinker. Vote Democrat straight down the ballot. That was me. I'm telling you. But enough of that. Let's hear this part of the Georgia Senate debate that took place between Reverend Warnock and actually Reverend Warnock is the incumbent. He already has a seat in the Senate. And then we have Herschel Walker, who is running against him for Georgia, for the Georgia Senate. All right, let's hear this particular part right here.
Gentlemen, we are moving on now. This next question, this is a yes or no response, and this is for both of you, Senator Warnock. Yes or no, regardless of who wins in November, will you accept the outcome?
Yes.
And Mr. Walker, regardless of who wins in November, will you accept the outcome?
Yes.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Buck, over to you.
Thank you, Tina. We turn now to the topic of abortion. We're going to start with you, Mr. Walker. A week before this debate, a former girlfriend made public accusations saying you paid for an abortion and that you encouraged her to have another. In an ABC News interview this week, you said that the accusations are, quote, all lies. For the voters watching tonight, can you explain the circumstances surrounding these claims? You have 60 seconds.
Well, as I said, that's a lie. And, most thing I put it in a book. One thing about my life is I've been very transparent. Not like the senator. He's hid things. But at the same time, I said that's a lie. And on abortion, I'm a Christian. I believe in life. And I tell people this, Georgia is a state that respects life, and I'll be a senator that protects life. And I said that was a lie, and I'm not backing down. And when you have Senator Warnock, people that would do anything and say anything for this seat, but I'm not going to back down because this seat is too important to the Georgia people for me to back down right now.
And I definitely want to put this out there. When I was maybe about 22, I paid for an abortion myself. I did. Something that I'm not proud of. And even when I was getting it, when I was paying for it and I was sitting there in that clinic, it wasn't a good feeling. Wasn't. Something that I think about all the time. Right now, if I wouldn't have paid for that abortion, that child would be about 20, would be close to 20, 19, 20 years old. Who knows, what that child would be doing right now. You see what I'm saying? So that's why this whole topic of abortion, this is something that is near and dear to my heart. And then when I read the Bible, and when I see how precious life is, according to God's word, man, you know what I'm saying? It just tugs at my heart a little bit more. But, I'm thankful for the gospel and how God has redeemed me as a sinner, a rebel against his word and a rebel against him, to use me for this moment. And this is why I have discussions and I have topics like this. But anyway, enough about me. Let's continue this. Now, first of all, before I get back into this, now if Herschel Walker is lying about this, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. And like I said, I'm fair across the board. I wouldn't say that it's far-fetched that a person is lying, that Herschel Walker may have paid for an abortion back in the day, and he may have encouraged someone to do that, depending on how long ago it was, but I don't think that that's far-fetched. I really don't think it's far-fetched. But, like I said, I'm going to take the man at his word, but if he is found out to be lying, that's going to be beef. That's going to be a problem. I'm one of those people to where I'd rather for a person to be straight up with me and say, hey, this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Than to say, nah, I'm going to lie, so therefore I can appeal to a certain voter base so I can win an election. Because how do I know that you're not lying to me now? That once you get into that seat, when certain bills or certain laws come across your desk, especially when it pertains to abortion, that you're going to be consistent. That you're just not up here lying right now just to win the election.
You've been vocally pro-life, supporting a ban on abortions without exceptions. Would you support a complete ban on a national level?
Well, first of all, see, that's not true either. I said I support the heartbeat bill. And I say I support the Georgia heartbeat bill because that's the bill of the people from Governor Kemp. And I said that has exceptions in it. I said I'm a Christian, but I'm also representing the people of Georgia, and that's who I represent. So what the people of Georgia stand for, I'm going to stand with them.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Senator Warnock, you've said repeatedly that the exam room is too small for the patient.
Now, one thing I will say, I don't totally ride with the Georgia heartbeat bill. And one of the reasons is that because I'm the type of person, I would do an all-out ban, except for if it is putting the mother's life in danger, and if the baby's life is in danger. You know what I'm saying? Those are the only two exceptions, but other than that, I would just say a total ban on abortion. But a lot of, I would just say, conservatives really hold to that position. No, they don't really hold to that position. They do support stuff like the heartbeat bill, which again is a step in the right direction, but I don't think that it goes far enough. I don't think that a woman should be able to just have an abortion just because the baby's heartbeat isn't detected. And I think that there's a loophole to that. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, I don't even think that that's even regulated. So it's not like that. If a person wanted to be dishonest and say, hey, listen, I didn't hear a heartbeat. I didn't detect a heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? But a heartbeat is there, then that woman can still have an abortion. Let's just say if a person doesn't use an ultrasound to detect a fetal heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? So it's loopholes to all of that stuff. That's why I'm kind of like, when it comes to the heartbeat bill, I'm not so much for it. But I do think it is a step in the right direction, and I do think that the Lord has used the heartbeat bill to kind of reduce the numbers of abortions here in the state of Georgia, at least. So, you know, like I said, I'm not going to beat a dead horse on that. Toasted Almond Kisser says, and the black community will not openly talk about these issues unless it's in the cloak of darkness. It is the largest human rights issue for African Americans, but we have been fooled to believe not. Correct. And that's why I want to talk about this, because one habit that we have as black people is that we wait for stuff to hit the fan, and then we want to complain, and then we want to talk. It's just like with the whole inflation thing. People have been telling, I've been telling a lot of these Democrats, and I'm sorry, I'm pointing at the Democrats right now, especially black Democrats. People said if you vote Joe Biden in, the man has already said what he's going to do. He's going to kill jobs. He's going to stop the Keystone Pipeline. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to hear what the man was saying and knowing that what he was saying was going to greatly affect the economy. It had nothing to do with wanting to vote for Trump and being ultra MAGA. Some people was just like, yo, I mean, I'd rather have this guy in, so therefore we can have a fighting chance at continuing to keep the economy going. And then we can figure out what we're going to do after Trump. But to turn around and just go hard on Joe Biden just because? All of that talk about reparations, Build Back Better, X, Y, and Z. People said that this man is not going to do that because what he was running on was going against his whole plan for Build Back Better and reparations and all of that stuff. But now black people want to complain about the gas prices. They want to complain about the cost of food. They want to complain about the rent going up. But y'all ran straight to the polls to put this guy and his administration in office. Guys like Raphael Warnock, you ran to the ballots and you vote Democrat all the way down the line. Then you wanted to complain. So that's why I want to have discussions like this. So therefore, the topic is already out there. It's already in your mind. So therefore, when you start to see a change in the black community, when you start to talk about the black numbers and how some of y'all wish that we had more numbers or how we need to increase our numbers, now is the time to really take these things into consideration before you vote these people back in and then they turn around and do exactly what they're saying they're going to do, especially when it comes to abortion, keeping the black numbers low. Let's have a conversation about it and let's just logically think. Let's stop thinking with our emotion and start thinking with our logic. Like I said, because what we'll do is that we'll wait for it to be too late, then we want to complain. When right now we have a chance to be like, okay, I may not like Democrats, I may not like Herschel Walker, but let's start holding people like Reverend Warnock accountable. Let's stop sweeping this stuff up under the rug and saying, I mean, I don't really support abortion, but I think it's evil, but what? You're going to vote for him anyway because because Herschel Walker is endorsed by Donald Trump? Come on, man, get serious.
Her doctor and the U.S. government. We're asking you to take a clear position right now.
Back down, because this seat is too important to the Georgia people for me to back down right now.
You've been vocally pro-life, supporting a ban on abortions without exceptions. Would you support a complete ban on a national level?
Well, first of all, see, that's not true either. I said I support the heartbeat bill. And I say I support the Georgia heartbeat bill because that's the bill of the people from Governor Kemp. And I said that has exceptions in it. I said I'm a Christian, but I'm also representing the people of Georgia, and that's who I represent. So what the people of Georgia stand for, I'm going to stand with them.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Senator Warnock, you've said repeatedly that the exam room is too small for the patient, her doctor, and the U.S. government. We're asking you to take a clear position right now. Do you believe there should be any limitations on abortion set by the government? And you have 60 seconds.
I think that the women of this country and the women of this state
listen good
up one summer morning, and a core protection that they've known for 50 years was taken from them by an extremist Supreme Court. And I stand where I've said I stand in the past, that a patient's room is too narrow and small and cramped a space for a woman, her doctor, and the United States government. We are witnessing right now what happens when politicians, most of them men, pile into patients' rooms. You get what you're seeing right now. And the women of Georgia,
don't clap. Don't clap
a
yet.
senator who will stand with them. I trust women more than I trust politicians.
May I respond?
Very quickly, Mr. Walker.
You know, it is, and I heard about him. I heard he's a neat talker, but did he not mention that there's a baby in that room as well? And also, did he not mention that he asking the taxpayer to pay for it? So he's bringing the government back into the room. So he's not talking about that. So when he mentioned that,
right. So you see how he called them out on that. Oh, I think that we should be bringing the government and these men making these policies into the abortion room. But he's talking about how he's going to bring the government and men back into the abortion room. You see what I'm saying? That's why you have to really listen to what some of these folks are saying.
I mean, a pastor that would say that statement.
Mr. Warnock, I'll give you a chance to rebut.
I am a pastor. I'm a man of faith. And I have a profound reverence for life and a deep respect for choice. And because I have such a profound reverence for life, it's one of the reasons why I've stood up to address this issue of maternal mortality in our country. We lead all of the Western nations on that front, and black women are 3 to 4 times more likely to die even when they have the insurance and the income. Now, that's something government could actually do something about. And I joined with Marco Rubio of Florida to pass a bill to address maternal mortality. The women of Georgia have a clear choice as we're watching women die. Do you want a senator who wants to control your life, or do you want a senator who wants to save your life?
All right, hold on. Let's touch on maternal mortality, especially in Georgia. My wife is in the birthing industry, and black women are, and this is facts, black women are more likely to die in childbirth than any other woman in the state of Georgia. So Reverend Warnock's solution is that black women need to keep having abortions to keep them from dying in childbirth. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying, which makes no sense. The problem with maternal mortality, especially in the state of Georgia, my wife has witnessed this firsthand. The proper care that women should be receiving from these hospitals, they're not getting. These doctors are in these hospitals running amok, not paying attention to these women. My wife has been in the hospital with some of these clients, some of her clients who have been sitting in the bed, laboring, ready to give birth, and the doctors and the nursing staff done forgot that these women are sent back here. A lot of these hospitals, what y'all don't know is that they want y'all women in and they want y'all out as fast as possible, and they'll do whatever they need to do by any means necessary to get you out of there. They'll put whatever drugs in your system to speed up your labor. They'll do whatever positions or maneuvers that they need to hurry up and get that baby out of there. C-sections, whatever. They'll do whatever to hurry up and get you out of that bed so they can put another woman in there and then get her up out of there so they can charge for all of those beds. There's a lack of care and empathy for women who are giving birth. That's why the mortality rate is high. Not only that, a lot of black women are uninformed of how to take care of themselves and their children during childbirth. But Reverend Warnock's, his and not just him, there's other politicians too. You don't really hear too many white politicians talking about that because, you know, it'll sound racist. But his idea is for black women to continue to keep having abortions so we can lower the maternal mortality rates.
Well,
I want to save your life.
Well, what's funny,
We need
man,
to keep moving, Mr. Walker.
I have to respond to this.
Very quickly.
Because he told me Black Lives Matter. And if you think about it, Senator, in Atlanta, Georgia, there's more black baby that is aborted than anything. So if Black Lives Matter, why are you not protecting those babies? And instead of aborting those babies, why are you not baptizing those babies?
Mr. Walker.
He said, instead of aborting those babies, how come you're not baptizing those babies? And this guy's supposed to be a pastor, Reverend Warnock.
Under that.
I think the women of Georgia have a clear choice. He says no exceptions, even in the case of rape, incest, or the life of the mother. I think that's extreme, it's out of touch with Georgia, and I intend to do the work that senators can do.
See, he didn't
Mr.
read
Walker,
the heart,
we've
he didn't
got
read
to
the
move
heartbeat
forward.
bill though. Wait, he didn't
We've
read
got
the
to move
heartbeat
forward, Mr.
bill
Walker.
that there is exceptions for that in the heartbeat bill. So when he
All
made
right, I'm going to
a
ask you to
statement that
respect
is
Mr.
untrue,
Walker that we need to
and I
move
do
on, okay?
respect
We've
that,
got
but
a
Senator, you have
lot
to
to get
read
in
that
tonight.
bill.
A follow-up question for you, Senator Warnock. We ask that you take a listen to something that you said at a rally just a couple of weeks ago.
So women, I trust women and their wisdom and their ability to sit with their own doctor.
That's right.
And if they choose, to sit with their pastor. And to pray about that and let their own conscience guide them.
Make that decision. That's
Even
right.
God gave us a choice.
That's right, didn't he?
Even God gave us a choice. Can you clarify what you meant by that? You have 30 seconds.
Now see, what the moderator did, he lined them up. Okay, so God gave us a choice. Now, this reverend, listen to what he said. He said that we're supposed to follow our conscience, not follow the word of God. Not follow what thus saith the Lord. Don't follow the Bible and the scripture. Follow your own conscience. But what does the Bible say about man's heart? It is deceitfully wicked, and it will lead you astray. How can a reverend purport something like that? But let's hear his answer, though.
Oh, I think it's self-explanatory. God gave us a choice. And I respect the right of women to make a decision. These are medical decisions. They are deeply personal. Women find themselves in a range of circumstances. And this issue has been far too politicized. And we're witnessing right now the chaos that ensues as a result of that. And women right now who may be facing a miscarriage in some cases are wondering what will happen and how will they have to explain that. I think that's deeply problematic. There are enough politicians piling into the rooms of patients, and I don't plan to join them.
But just to clarify, in your opinion, God gave us a choice in regards to abortion.
It is apparent that God has given us a range of choices, and the people of Georgia have a choice right now about who they think should represent them in the Senate.
And may I have to respond?
Mr. Walker, we do have to move on to our next
This will be
topic.
very short, because he's correct. God gave us a choice. But also within the Bible, if you read the Bible more, God said, choose life. In the Bible, it says, I give you a choice. Just like Adam and Eve had a choice, but they chose death.
Very
and
quick,
God
rebuttal,
said you
very
choose.
quick. Mr. Walker, we need to move forward.
I think he wants to arrogate to politicians more power than God has.
All right, gentlemen, thank you. We're going to have to move on to our next topic, okay? Tina?
Okay.
Yeah, so you can see clearly that Reverend Warnock, he really didn't even want to have that discussion, because now I will say I did watch the whole debate. I watched the whole debate, and that particular part, Herschel Walker did slice him up. He sliced him up on that. But again, that's why I'm like, when it comes to us as Christians, when it comes to us as Christian people, we have to know where our candidates stand. Not just for our emotion or how well they can speak and, appeal to our emotion, using all of these catchphrases and word salads and all of that. But I'm glad that the moderator did bring up what he said about you saying that women have a choice. You said that women should have a choice, or God gave women a choice. And along the lines of these talking points, his mindset is God gave women a choice to do what they want with their own bodies. That's the context in which he is talking about. But we're talking about the life of a child. So when does a woman have a right to end the life of her child, the life of her child that's in her womb? You see what I'm saying? These are questions that we have to ask ourselves. And if you call yourself a reverend, well then now the Bible should be your foundation. Point blank, period. It shouldn't be a black issue, white issue, a political issue. No, you have to stand on the word of God. You got to be able to stand on the word of God. All right, so this last and final, let me see. Yeah, this last and final clip we're going to talk about is a debate that happened. I can't remember who started the whole walk away campaign thing, but this was started, I want to say maybe 2016, 2017, where you do have some people who were Democrats pre-Trump, and they turned and they became Republican. And I think that these are the people that who actually hosted this particular debate. Now you do see three people on each side. You got three people who are on the left, who are the liberals, who are your Democrat blacks, you know what I'm saying? Then you got the people on the right who are the blacks, who are the Republicans. They're more of your conservative black people. And they're going to be talking about the issue of abortion. And these are just people who they're involved politically, but they're not like running for any seats or anything like that. But these are people who have like somewhat of a presence on social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, things like that. So these are just some people who are involved, pretty politically. And let's just watch it. Let's just watch it.
All right, next question. According to the Black Lives Matter website, the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade decision opens the door to statewide bans and subsequent rulings that will harm black people disproportionately. Since the Roe decision in 1973, 19 million black babies have been aborted, which is nearly half of the current black population in America.
19 million with an M. 19 million black babies have been aborted since Roe versus Wade 40 years ago. So in 40 years, we will have 19, possibly 19 more million black people alive on this planet today if it wasn't for Roe versus Wade. I want y'all to let that sink in. Let that sink in. So I think I was kind of off on my numbers. I know we're about 12% of the population, but the numbers, let me see. No, yeah, because I think we're about 40 million. It's about 40 million black people. So to put that in perspective, it's 40 million black people in America. Add the 19 million lives that have been lost to abortion. 59 million black people would be alive today if it wasn't for Roe versus Wade. You tell me, where do you think that the black community would be right now if we had 19 more million black people who are raised up, let's just say raised up in the admonition of the Lord? Now, of course, that's not realistic that every black child or every black person would have been raised that way, but think about it. I just want y'all to think about that. 19 more million black people would be on this earth right now if it wasn't for abortion.
How can the organization that insists they have the authority on protecting black lives also claim it is detrimental to black people to have restricted access to a procedure that has ended 19 million black lives? Right side, you have 2 minutes.
This is a phenomenal question, and it puts many of the left's preferred policy prescriptions and much of its rhetoric under close scrutiny. Now, the left will tell you that any organization that has a racist history should be dismissed. It will tell you that anything that has a disproportionate effect on black bodies should be rejected. It'll tell you that anything where black people are being subjected to violence should be rejected, unless it's abortion and unless it's Planned Parenthood, right? I grew up in New York City. In 2016, half of all black women's pregnancies ended in abortion in New York City. It was close to about 22,000 on each, live births and abortions. Now, the people who say that Black Lives Matter, I don't understand how they can say that and then also promote a policy that has a disproportionate effect on the black community. The other thing that I notice is that Democrats push abortion with much more force, vigor, and passion than they do the natural family and marriage. There's a reason for that. When they tell you that they're abolitionists, you should ask yourself, what or who is it that they want to abolish? So, Black Lives Matter, as I said, it does not care about black folks. It's a Marxist organization. It rejects the nuclear family. It said more about being trans affirming and queer affirming than it did about police brutality and its 13 original principles. And one of the things, I'll say this, I'm against abortion. I do not think that the manner of conception determines the value of a life. I'm a Christian. I believe that God created all human beings in his image, according to Genesis 1:27. I believe that we're fearfully and wonderfully made. I do not believe that black children should be killed in the womb, or any children for that matter. And I would like to know from and they can answer this question, do you all believe that abortion, which has a disproportionate effect on the black community, is an aspect of white supremacy? Yes or no?
Oh yeah, they got into it on this particular topic. So I want to ask you guys in the chat: do you guys think that do you think that abortion is a product of white supremacy? Type 1 for yes, type 2 for no. Do you think that abortion is a product of white supremacy? Kay says he's right on point. He is. Now let's listen to the response from the black people on the left. Let's see what they got to say.
Say the question again.
What?
Say the question again.
Ask that question one more time.
I wanted to know whether you all believe that abortion, which has a disproportionate effect, and let me be very clear with my terms, I'm talking about the intentional ending of a human life in the womb. I'm not talking ectopic pregnancy, I'm not talking miscarriage. Those things are handled in a different way medically. But do you all believe that abortion, which intentionally ends the life of a child in the womb who otherwise would have been born, which has a disproportionate effect on the black community, is one aspect of white supremacy?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go with no. All right. Let me tell you what is an aspect of white supremacy in terms of a black woman, okay? A black woman has never had autonomy over her body in this country. She was used as a baby manufacturing machine for her slave owner, who needed more and more people. When they stopped allowing slaves to be brought over to the United States, it began then her turn to be impregnated every possible chance she got. Where do you think they got the word mother effer from? They used to put a paper bag over a black woman's head, and they would send in her relatives, whether it was her son, her uncle, her brother, her cousin. It didn't matter. They were just used as mules to recreate for white supremacy. So that's what happens when white supremacy is allowed. Black women have no control over their womb, their body, and anything else. And so what we're having now is people being returned the ability to decide what they want to do for themselves. First of all, the next question is, how are you telling me?
Is that true what she said? Is that true what she said? That black women living in America today, that you do not have autonomy over your own body, that somebody else has control over your body right now today as a black woman. Let's continue.
That black people are disproportionately having abortions when it's illegal to even collect that type of information at an abortion clinic. You are not allowed to collect whether a woman is black or white and how many abort. That's something that is, you don't even have to answer those type of questions at a clinic. You can choose to, but that is not mandatory. So even the information that you have is skewed. There is no fact in that. So that's issue number one. The facts are false. But two, we're getting back to the fact that maybe Black Lives Matter was co-opted. Maybe somebody infiltrated that organization and they made the goal of it to be LGBTQ and all this other stuff that had nothing to do with the original goal of black people standing up and trying to ask for humanity in this country. That's fine. The point still remains that a woman has the right to decide what she wants to do with her body, her life, and that is her choice. That's time.
Was Black Lives Matter infiltrated by the LGBTQ community? Or was it started by people of the LGBTQ community? Were the founders of Black Lives Matter, were they LGBTQ from the jump, or were they people who who actually stood on building a black family, not tearing down a nuclear family, not about all of the queer affirming stuff? Did that stuff come later? Or was that at the beginning of the Black Lives Matter movement? Was that their message at the beginning and then someone came in and changed it later? We have to ask these questions. Fair use, fair use.
And that is something that she has never had in this country. And now we are definitely seeing that being brought back.
I didn't hear an actual answer to my question. I would mark that witness as unresponsive, moderator.
So you answered it.
Yeah, that's me personally, but I got a minute after this, so next.
Okay. You know what? We're almost done, so if you want to answer the actual
the actual question that I asked.
Okay.
Can I? Is it my turn?
Yeah, no, it's your turn. It's your turn.
Okay. All right, you go.
No, I just want to ask Reese, as a black woman, if she had autonomy over her body when she cocked her legs up and got that baby in her stomach.
Okay, we're going to just go ahead and say, no, absolutely not. That is not how we will address our fellow panelists. That was not how, stop right now.
All right.
This is not how we talk as black folks in the community. We will not talk about a black woman cocking her legs up or anything else. You will respect the people on this panel. You will respect the people in this room. You will respect yourself by talking in a manner and a fashion that is appropriate. Continue.
Okay. I would like to
I slightly agree with what the guy said. And I think that is another thing that us as black people that we do have to, especially those who say that represent Christ. You know, we do have to watch the way that we move and that we present ourselves. You know what I'm saying? So if we're having a debate or we're having a discussion, and I understand. And at this point, they had been on stage for about 2 hours. You know what I'm saying? So, things, they had some heated discussions and some heated topics that they were talking about previously. But, as Christians, we do have to watch the way that we talk. But at the same time, we do have to be straightforward. We do have to be straightforward because it seems like that, but that doesn't give us a pass to say whatever we want and how we want to say it. All right? Right, just like Big Nate says, season that speech with grace. Yeah, that was another way that she could have put it. But the context of what she said, you got to deal with that. Well, they have to deal with that.
As Reese, as a black woman, you got to spread your legs, don't you? That's what I thought. As a black woman, did you have autonomy over your body when you spread your legs and got that baby in your stomach? So we can talk as proper as we want to, but the truth is you decided to have children. And so what I want us to stop
Okay, I'm
lying
gonna interrupt you. You
I
got
want
7
us to
seconds, but
stop
let me just go here.
lying about the fact that black women don't have the ability
My
to have
fiance
control
and
over their
I
bodies.
met. My fiance and I met. We sat down after being engaged and wrote down a list of 4 names that we wanted to name our children after his mother and his grandfather and my grandmother. We decided to plan a family. That is a decision that I, a woman who's 30-something years old with multiple degrees and several abilities to secure herself, decided to do by planning a family with her fiance. But guess what? Every black woman is not, you talked and we've heard enough. Every black woman has not had that education, opportunity, and ability to move forward and gain something for herself. And so if she learns something in the middle of the game, in the 4th quarter, the 3rd quarter, whether it's the 3rd month or the 4th month, she learns that this person is going to walk out on her. She learns that this person has been unfaithful. She learns that she's not able to provide for herself. If she decides that this is not a decision she wants to continue with because of new information coming into her at 4 or 5 months, she's got a right up until what is called quickening. Let me to make that decision to terminate that life and do what's best for her as a woman.
Let me interject. Hold on. So just to be clear, you're asking literally, does she have autonomy over her body because
Fair
she
use.
had
Fair
the choice
use.
to-
Her point was black women have never had the ability to have autonomy over our bodies, and that is a lie. This is not, we're not in Color Purple days where men will just climb on top of us and do his business. This is 2022, and women have the ability to decide yes or no, I want to have sex or I don't. I want to take birth control or I don't. I want to have this baby or I don't. So we need to stop telling these lies as if we just happen to fall on a penis and get pregnant. That's not how it works. We actually have the choice to do that. And I don't care how Reese decided to sit down with her fiance, whether they married or any of that. I want us to stop telling lies. And as someone who is a product of rape, since Robert wanted to shut me up, as someone who is a product of rape, my mother was raped at 14, walking to cheer camp. I am that baby. So when y'all sit here and talk about something that is less than 1% of all abortions, as if that is the reason why we have abortions, that is not the truth. And I want us to stop lying about it. And I want us to be honest. And I want us as women to be responsible and have accountability and stop trying to blame everybody else for what's going on with our bodies. We have the ability and the right to choose. And that's just what it is.
Anybody disagree with that? Is that beef? Is what she said beef? Let's continue.
All right. I believe it's
fair
back
use.
to the, I'm not even sure because
so I'm just going to hop in here for a minute and just talk about this, and I'm not going to abide by the clock in any way, shape, or form. So I'm pro-life. I'm severely pro-life. I'm right to life. Hold on with it. You're going to dislike me in a second. But that life does not, for Republicans often, it seems that life begins at conception and ends at birth. I'm talking about the totality of the person, the totality of the human being. And when we talk about the question of life versus anti-abortion, what we're really having a conversation about is governmental power. Does the government have the power to enforce those things on the individual? I don't believe that it does. So I think that what we have to do as a Christian and caring community is work towards the place where abortion is obsolete. It's less so about whether it's illegal or legal. It's a question of, will this child have clean and safe housing when they come out of that womb? Will they have access to prenatal care so we can cut down the birth mortality rate for African American women? Can we ensure that we as a nation can provide them with an education that will prepare them for the next generation? So instead of thinking about when this life ends, because it seems that a lot of people don't care about that child once it walks out of the room, it's more about regulating what that woman does in the bedroom there before. I think that we need to take the conversation away from this legal versus illegal context? And what can we do as a loving and holistic Christian community, as a nation, to ensure that it is obsolete so no woman would ever want to make that choice? It's not about taking away their choice, it's about making sure they don't have to use that choice.
Is that a fair point? Is that a fair point? That we have to worry about, or I wouldn't say worry, but, you know, we just have to be as equally concerned about what happens to that child once that woman walks out of the hospital with that child, as we are with that child in the womb? Is that a fair point? All right. So you guys hit that like button. Hit that like button. Anthony Hall, who is a member, appreciate your patronage, appreciate your support. Anthony Hall says, question, are we trying to defend abortion for fornication, or married couples having pregnancies? Sounds like a sin problem more than anything. Please enlighten me. Yes. Yep. That is the question that a lot of us are asking. It seems like that there's something else going on behind the scenes, or there's another argument that's being made for abortion. It almost seems like that there's kind of like this push for the sexual revolution, which we know a lot of people on the left have been pushing for. You can do whatever you want to do with your body, but there are consequences. There's a lot of consequences that come with people going out here and just having open sex. Pregnancy, which is not originally a consequence. It's not a bad consequence in the eyes of God, but when you're going out and you're using your body inappropriately against the way that God has designed sexual relations between a man and a woman, it can become a consequence. So therefore, what do people want to do? They want to run to the abortion mill. And one thing about these people on the left, see, they're not going to sit back and argue for the 99.9% of women that are running to the abortion clinic just because they're pregnant and they had sex with some guy that they're not married to. They don't want to carry this baby to term. See, they're kind of slick with it. So they want to talk about the rape, the women of rape, the women of incest, the babies that are putting the woman's life in danger. They want to try to argue those points. So therefore, people will say, oh, well, we feel for those women. So therefore, let's just leave abortion open to everybody because we don't know what's going on. It's not our business to know how a woman got pregnant. All we need to do is just sympathize with that woman and let her continue to have abortions. But the problem with that is that, number one, there's a level of dishonesty there. And are women doing this, and men who are paying for these abortions, are they trying to cover a sin? And number three, this is greatly affecting the black community in this particular context when it comes to this particular topic. Right? Yeah, Big Nate says, argue the extremes to appeal to emotions. Yeah, exactly, and that's what they do. Right? Sex without accountability. All right, let's continue. Fair use.
I guess the time is flexible.
Yeah, so what Robert, I actually agree with Robert on that. What he's referring to is this whole life argument. Republicans are typically criticized by Democrats because they say you aren't concerned what happens when the baby comes out of the womb. I can give you stats after stats all around the country of Republican governors, Republican mayors, Republican politicians doing the very things to fund those type of programs. On the issue of race and abortion, and whether or not we have that sort of information, according to the Kaiser Family Foundation, in their report, reported legal abortions by race of women who obtained abortion by state of occurrence.
It's definitely collective.
Disproportionately in some places, like Alabama, black women, 62% of abortion, white women, 30% of abortion. This is repeated in areas all around the country. Georgia, 65% black women, White women, 21%. This is consistent. Yes, I'm pro-life. I've moved in my pro-life position. I do believe that there should be exceptions in endoscopic, I can't even remember the name of it. Ectopic pregnancies. Every law, and I think almost every law in the country.
For people who don't understand what ectopic means, and I think you guys could correct me, especially wifey, if you in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong. I think ectopic means that the egg that is growing inside of the fallopian tube of the mother. That actually happened to one of my cousins where she was pregnant, and she didn't know that she was pregnant, but she just really had these, really bad stomach pains, and she went to the doctor and found out that the baby did not go down the fallopian tube into the womb to attach itself to the side of the womb. As the egg was still in the fallopian tube, it got fertilized and the baby was growing inside that fallopian tube. And what will happen is that, without saying, if that baby grows within that fallopian tube, that could be detrimental to the health of the mother. So, but you guys let me know if I'm off on that. I'm off on it. Now, that is one of the few exceptions that I would have to abortion, right? To where it is going to impact the life of the mother or the child too.
Provides those type of exceptions. So it's not as if the abortion has been, well, we know abortion hasn't been banned anyway, but there are exceptions built into these laws, and we should be able to have, I don't think I'm ever going to agree with people who are pro-choice and say that a woman should have a choice to abort, because for me, that is a child. It is a life. It isn't just a fetus. It isn't just, oops, it's a life. And from my pro-life position, I believe that we should protect that life at all costs. We can get into debates about when it begins, if it's 8 weeks or when. We can have all of those debates. But for me and my purposes, that is a life. And I believe we should do everything we can to protect that life and not be just callous and have these conversations about, it's my body, my choice. There's another body in there too. I believe in helping to make a choice for that one.
Yes. Most black people are conservative on this issue. Most black people I know are pro-life, and that needs to be understood. If you want to talk about abortion, we can't have the conversation without talking about Planned Parenthood. And we can't talk about Planned Parenthood without talking about Margaret Thatcher.
He means Margaret Sanger. I don't know why he was saying Thatcher, but I think that somebody tried to correct him, but I don't think that he heard it. But yeah, he means Margaret Sanger.
Thatcher was a white supremacist, but it's not good enough to just know that she was a white supremacist. Who is the party that is always dog whistling the white supremacists? That'd be the right.
Yeah, he totally missed that. I mean, it's just like, I don't know if you guys watch basketball. Well, actually, no, let's talk about football. That's just like somebody threw him a pass and he had his arms up and nobody was around. He caught the ball, headed for the end zone, and he tripped up over his own feet, on his own 2 feet, and didn't score. Come on, man. Like, why would he even bring up Margaret Sanger and then he want to try to correlate that and say, oh, that's white supremacy, but who's the people who's always dog whistling for the white supremacists? He just totally fumbled that. You can look at this lady named is Gothics. She does like a lot of black conservative talk and stuff. You can look at her and just be like, yo, like what are you even talking about right now, dude?
Would anyone like to respond?
Yeah, I would like to respond real quick. I mean, I heard what Robert said when I first asked my question. He responded and he hit me with the pro all of life stuff. Let me be very clear. Men are responsible for the children that they create, not the federal government. Okay? So let's start there. One of the reasons that the abortion rates are disproportionately high in the black community is because our marriage rates are lower. Generally speaking, the women who seek abortions are unmarried women. right? Because anybody who's married and you tell your husband, babe, look, we expecting, oh my goodness gracious, yes. Because that's what you get when two people come together to have sex. A baby is not a consequence of sex. It is the fruit of sex and reproduction. So.
That's what I was trying to say earlier, but I couldn't really articulate it as well as him. So, a lot of these women, now do you guys think it's true or false, that majority of the women who are having abortions are unmarried women? And that is different when a married woman finds out that she's pregnant versus a single unmarried woman who's just having sex with some random guy. And I like the way he brought the conversation back to what the main issue is. In the black community, we don't prop up marriage, or we don't. I'm having a brain freeze right now, but the thing is that we do not promote marriage like we should in our communities. We want to promote thotting it up, WAP. Every time you look around, a black woman, I ain't saying just black women, there's a lot of other women too, but in our community, women with their behinds out, breasts all over the place. I'm a single independent woman. I can do whatever I want. Do we even talk about marriage? When the last time that us as a community heard a positive message about marriage? And I hate to say this. I mean, even in majority of your contemporary churches today, the message of marriage is not being preached. Not as much as it should be. It's really not. So this is another area that us as Christians, we have to stand firm on. And we have to make sure that the energy that we have against abortion is the same type of energy we need to have when we're promoting marriage. Let's continue.
End of the day.
Fair use.
The notion that a black child is better off dead than being raised by a poor single mother is one that I reject. And for some reason, the left, and Reese brought up slavery, but for some reason, the left today is as intent on legalizing abortion as Democrats were in the 1800s in legalizing slavery. So my thing is this: either Black Lives Matter or they don't. Either we have human dignity, we believe in human dignity, or we don't. The notion that a child's life or a person's life is conditional on whether they're going to grow up in a middle-class neighborhood, whether they're a white person, whether they have health insurance, whether the community has free daycare, is one that you cannot accept. Because if you want to go down that road, you're gonna get into some ugly territory. And Robert should know this: one of the jobs of the government is to determine under what circumstances one individual can take the life of another. That is the government's role. That's one of its roles. And there's no moral code that I know of in which taking the life of an innocent person is seen as a morally justifiable act until it comes to abortion. So I'll end with this. For some reason, the people who believe in black liberation, we support black lives, until it comes to abortion, because they think that fewer black people is a sign of liberation in this country, and I disagree with that position.
Well, there's 2 points on rebuttal and I'm done.
Really quick, just so we can wrap it up, I'm going to let you respond, but you're going to get 1 minute and 1 minute, and then we're just going to move on to the next thing.
Okay. So one, on the point of the statistics that Malik presented, if I remember that Kaiser survey correctly, the way those numbers are tabulated is not from the medical providers. They do surveys of women as they walk outside of the clinic, and they voluntarily report that information. So it's not truthfully scientific. It's more so how many women feel like talking to the survey taker on the way out the door. And we know for a fact that wealthy women, whether they're Republican or Democrat, they have their abortions done clandestinely. They're not walking into your local Planned Parenthood. so therefore those statistics don't get counted. Secondarily, to the point of the previous interlocutor, I think that at the end of the day, when we talk about small c conservatism, small government, the idea that the government cannot tell me what to put into my body, the government can't tell me to get the jab, the government can't tell me what I can put on the internet. I agree with those things, but you cannot then thereafter say that the government has the wholesale authority to determine what happens to an individual's body. And as a country, as a point of policy, it is easier for us to come together as a village and take care of the children in this country than it is to determine whether or not people are giving birth and the slippery slope from there.
Okay, thank you. 1 minute, and then we'll move on to the last thing.
I don't think I have anything else, but as far as the numbers, these are the numbers that's reported by the Kaiser Foundation, and I think those numbers that many organizations and groups actually use to determine who is or who isn't getting abortion. So I think they're important numbers.
Correct. And the CDC collects abortion surveillance statistics. They've been doing it for years. I have the data. The notion that they don't collect it by race is just simply untrue. The data is there. Again, a child is a unique life. It has its own unique DNA. When fertilization occurs, you have a unique life, not holy mother or not holy father. It's the combination of the two. So the notion that the government has no say in this is one I just find hard to believe, especially, and you all lived through COVID. We went from my body, my choice to it's a jab or it's a job. The same people. In fact, sometimes I'll see people online and they'll be wholeheartedly pro-abortion, and I'll just search on their Twitter, and I know every time it'll come up. I'll see what they had to say about the vaccine mandate, because for some reason they think that the government can tell you what medication to take, but the government can't say, no, you cannot kill that child in your womb.
All right, so now we're going to close tonight with a final question for our panelists.
And I think that was the end of that particular segment. If you guys want to, you can go and check that out. Check that out. It is the Walk Away Black American Culture War live debate. So if you guys want to go check that out. I also tagged this particular young lady here in the description. Her name is Gothix, and I think it might be on her channel if you guys want to see it. Now, Gothix does not profess to be a Christian, so I think she uses, like, she has more of like black conservative talking points, and I think that some of her language is, may be a little offensive, so you guys may want to, be careful. But if you guys are looking to try to, if you guys want to watch that whole debate, they cover an array of topics, not just the abortion thing. That was just, one part of it. But, if you guys are curious to hear what the rest of the debate was, go ahead and click that name, Gothix, in the description, and it should lead you to her page, which should, in fact, lead you to that particular debate. But yes, Pastor G says, I'm curious what the percent of women are Democrat and what percent are Republicans. That's a pretty good question. But I will say that I don't know. I think it was a part of this particular debate that you had more black women turn out for, I think, voting for Trump back in 2016 than you did for Hillary Clinton. So there was a higher number of black women support for Trump back in 2016. I don't know what the numbers were this past go around back in 2020, but I think that black men showed up more during the election of 2020 than what they did in 2016. But this was a free and fair election. So I don't know what the numbers are. Don't know what happened between 2016 and 2020, but there's plenty of videos and plenty of topics where people got information about that. So I just don't have it, so I ain't gonna speak on it. And plus, I ain't even finna get my channel banned for, I don't want to be putting out no false information or nothing like that. So I'm gonna leave that topic alone. But yeah, this is a very, very interesting topic, and I think that this is an important topic, especially for us as Christians. It's a very important topic for us as Christians, and these are some of the things that we need to think about when we are heading to the polls. I don't know. Well, I think we're like a couple of weeks away from the election. So, as you guys get ready to go to the polls, I was at the. I was trying to get some stuff straightened out with my tag yesterday, and I saw that on one side of the building they did have the ballots and stuff up. Pastor G says no comment on the free and fair. Yeah, no comment on that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I see in certain places they already got the polls and stuff up, and I haven't gone to vote. And actually, that's something that I probably need to do before I hit the road again. I probably need to go and vote. I should have done it yesterday when I was trying to get that stuff done with the tag on my truck. But let's just think about these things, because abortion is a pretty hot topic right now. We know that the decision of Roe versus Wade was overturned recently, so that's still fresh on a lot of people's minds, and you do have a lot of politicians who's going to run on that, and that is something that a lot of people are going to take to the polls with them this election cycle. And then in November, after the governor's race is over, the Senate races and all of that, I think that we'll start seeing presidential candidates throwing their hats into the ring, right? So I think around November, then that's when we'll start seeing who's going to run for president and all of that stuff. So I think that this election right now is pretty important. It's pretty important, and I know a lot of people was talking about that. People say that around every election, but we're coming off the Donald Trump presidency where we did see a dramatic change. Actually, we had Bush, we had the war with that, we had the whole war in the Middle East. Then we had Obama come in, the first black president, and then we had Donald Trump to precede him after that, who was just like the super conservative, billionaire celebrity president came in. We saw which way the economy took a turn. We also saw a whole bunch of things happening. The riots, the whole rise of the Black Lives Matter thing. Although Black Lives Matter did rise up under Obama in 2012. So, let's not get that twisted. Black Lives Matter was something that was started up under Barack Obama, and I think this was like right after he got elected, when he got ready to start his second term. But it just became more of a thing, and it became popularized under Donald Trump. So coming off of that, then we see Joe Biden's in office. A lot of Democrats, majority of the Democrats that I talk to, they're pretty displeased with them. You can't get a lot of people to get behind Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It's kind of like a lot of Democrats, a lot of people who was voting for him hard. They're pretty silent. The lips are tight right now on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and what they're doing in the office. So there's people right now who are just kind of like, they don't want to vote for those people again. They don't want to put them back in office. I don't see anybody else on the Democratic side who's interested in running, but of course in November we'll see. So a lot of people are talking about Donald Trump's going to be rerunning, but then there's some people who say that they'll rather see Ron DeSantis run. So it's a lot of stuff going on politically, and I think that this is probably going to be the most interesting time in my lifetime since I've been able to vote, that to kind of see which direction people are going to go into. So are we going to have more Democrats, or is the the United States going to become more radical? Is it going to become, well, more radically left, more radically liberal, or is it going to become more radically conservative? Right? Either way, I think that us as Christians, we got to be aware, because being too radically left, we already know that's a bad thing. But what a lot of people don't think about is our country becoming too radically conservative, right? So let's not get that twisted. Radical conservatives can really put some persecution out there on Christians as well. And there's nothing worse than a person who believes that they're doing the will of God and they're willing to persecute or eliminate anybody who's doing the true will of God, aside from a political or conservative agenda. So before we start hopping on the whole MAGA thing, or ultra right wing conservative, we got to be careful with that too, because they can do just as much damage, or probably even more damage, to Christians than the liberals, right? I think we look at like the USSR for example. The USSR was ultra conservative. These wasn't a bunch of liberals walking around talking about some free love and we get to do whatever we want. They were like, no, we got standards here as a country. We're going to go by these standards, and anybody who goes against these standards, we're going to execute them. They claim to be a Christian nation at the beginning of the USSR. They claim that, hey, you know, we got some Christians that are in power, and we need them to kind of keep everybody in line when it comes to the Christian faith. But of course, their version of Christianity is what the government told them, whatever the version of Christianity was. And anybody who went aside from that, like the true Christians who were martyred during the Soviet Union, people like that were martyred during the Soviet Union because they stuck to the Bible instead of what the government regulated version of Christianity was. So even with that, us as Christians who may not want to deal with the left, who may think that our country is becoming too liberal, we got to watch for a lot of these ultra conservatives too. We got to watch for that. But anyway, guys, listen, I'm getting ready to get up out of here. You guys go ahead and hit that like button on the way out, man. Yeah, that's basically about it. You know, but as always, man, you know, you guys let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. You know, do you think that this is a pretty important topic that we need to be covering? You know, or we could still agree to disagree. You could still be a Democrat and go vote for these people that say that abortion should be legal, that there shouldn't be any bans on abortion, and you can still be considered a Christian. Or do you happen to believe that as a Christian, man, we can't ride with that? We can't ride with that, because every person that's made in the image of God. But as always, you guys like this video, rate it, share it, subscribe, hit that notifications bell so whenever I do get ready to go live, you guys will be the first ones to see the videos and be the first ones in the chat during the live stream. And with that, you guys have a blessed day, and I will see you guys later, Lord willing.